Welcome back to Racing Across America. Always happy to be joined by our next guest, trainer Rick Violette. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
Happy to have you on board. We'll talk about some of your winners so far earlier in the meet. You had a nice one yesterday. We'll hit on horse with some nice potential, but some other topics as well. And you and I were talking just as we came out of the break, doing some bio information as I typically do before shows. You had some great comments about a guy you worked with. This was from an article going back a year or so, and unfortunately David Whiteley passed away recently, so I wanted some memories because you had given him a lot of credit for your training methods. You were with him as an assistant for a while. Talk a little bit about David Whiteley.
He was just a very intense, spectacular horseman. He and of course his father, Mr. Whiteley, Frank, they never did anything without a purpose, and there was a method to their madness, from the way you put pins in and put up water buckets, walked around the shed row. Great teachers, and he's certainly a deserving candidate for the Hall of Fame, and a lot of people are quite disappointed that he wasn't inducted. He lifetime 32% win percentage is unheard of, especially at the level that he, didn't have claimers, didn't have New York breds. He played at the very high level of the game, and when he was in a race, you needed to beat him. So it's a great loss, and we've missed him for a while.
Yeah, it's again, he passed away recently, but he's certainly a guy worth remembering in the Hall of Fame. He's been nominated a few times. We'll see, because if folks look at his record, it certainly is impressive. An impressive record at Saratoga so far this season. I wanted to go back and take a look at some of the wins we've had so far and have you talk about some of these horses, because I think there's some potential going forward. The fifth race yesterday, it was a state-bred maiden special. Ultimate Enticement. This horse is interesting because it's a New York bred that started the career out at Golden Gate. And then obviously they thought, there's a lot more money in New York, and moved into your barn for the second career start, which was, I think it ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw with Barely Impassable in that start on August 7th. But the horse comes back yesterday, Ultimate Enticement. Number 6 horse here, wins by a chart margin 2 lengths as the 8-5 favorite. Again, this was career start number 3. Pretty nice looking win. And I think this horse has a little bit of a future in the New York bred program.
He really does. I really expected him to be on the lead yesterday, and he broke well. They just outran him a little bit, Jose said, but they were going pretty fast on what wasn't a spectacularly fast strip. And 3/8 pole, I wasn't sure we were going to get a piece of it, and he just was resolute. He's really bred to go a mile and a quarter, mile and a half, maybe even on the turf. But it's nice that he has this dimension that he can take some dirt in the face and still put his head down and run.
Yeah, yesterday was 5.5. So if there's a future going longer or a future on the turf, you've got a lot of options.
Exactly.
All right, also wanted to pull up, and I just wanted to pull this race up, not only to show a nice stakes win at Saratoga, but to talk a little bit about strategy and what you think in situations like this. Going back to August 21st, the Evan Shipment, and I was in here handicapping this morning, and I have to admit, I have to be honest, I went a little bit against you in this race handicapping. I put Papa Shot on top, but then we're in the morning before scratches. Then when the 2 scratches came, I came on later in the day, we have cut-ins, and I said, scratch all that. Yeah. This is now lone speed.
Yeah.
And with the 4-horse field, going to take them all the way around. And I'm guessing you salivated a little bit when it scratched down to 4 and you've got the lone speed like this. It's just catch me if you can.
Certainly the outside horse, Australenka, when he scratched, that was the other. He was, sprinter speed in there for David Jacobson. When he came out, then there was no question that we were going to try to control. And if he had stayed in, if he wanted to take the lead, we would have let him go. But when we got a half and 47 and change, it was going to make it pretty tough for the others behind him, because he's a very, very good horse. But that was kind of a tour de course. That was his best performance.
Yeah, runs off by 11 and a half, and again, he's now banked over $300,000. Slew of triple-digit buyer figures there. So again, a nice New York bred that has a lot of potential. You have options with that one as well.
He stepped up that we might get a little braver going forward. We were actually going to experiment on the turf, looking to see if we would break that 100 threshold and see what kind of horse he was. Well, he did it that day, and he might be deserving of a little bit steeper competition.
I ask trainers a lot when they come in here. We mentioned the buyer figures. Are you a figure guy? Is that a tool in your training toolbox?
It's a tool. I'm not. I don't. Not a slave by them, but you like to know where you belong in a race. I'm a little bit more of a pace man, and how the race is going to shape up. I think pace makes a race. Sometimes you just throw the other numbers out. But yeah, it puts you in a group of horses, and if you can't break a barrier, a lot of times you just need things perfectly for the horse. And when you keep trying to run in races where everything has to go right, you lose most of them.
Is it buyers, or do you look at thoroughbreds or Regazin?
Buyers are the easiest,
Yeah.
most accessible, don't question. But we'll look at both the rags, and as we start looking at stakes and stuff like that, we'll reach out and get other sophisticated numbers and see if there's a balance out there.
Wanted to go back, because as I say, wanted to show some of these horses because there'll be potential going forward as well. Again, going back a little earlier in the meet, August 6th, it's a maiden special weight event. We're going to watch number 4, Honey Graham, win in her career debut, a daughter of Graham Hall, purchased at the OBS March sale earlier this year. Jose Ortiz on board this one. Honey Graham's going to be the number 4 horse here. This was a pretty good debut effort.
It was, and we were a little bit flattered by Ian Wilkes' horse, who came back, who was ended up second here, and she came back and won. She might have been odds on. I'm not sure, but she came back and won. So this is a pretty nice filly. We're actually going to go up to Woodbine next weekend and try her in their debutante. I think the spin away came up a little bit tougher than we wanted, and the days of going from a maiden win to an allowance race are gone, at least this time of the year for 2-year-olds. So we'll test the waters up there and then see what happens.
Concerns when you do that, just from a training aspect, synthetic surface?
She actually, her dam won going 1.25 miles on the synthetic.
Okay.
She breezed really well when we bought her at OBS on their synthetic racetrack. So by a couple of different measures, she's supposed to handle it.
All right, and I wanted to show one more win finally, going to August 2nd. We're going to look at an allowance an optional claimer with the non-winners of 2 other than condition, New York Song, who, boy, this is a new horse this year. This made New York Song 3 for 3 in 2017. New York Song going to be the number 8 horse in here. Florent Giraud on board. Just gets up, nose victory at 10-1. But as I say, this is a horse that has had 9 starts throughout the career and is now 3 for 3 in 2017. So turn the corner here with New York Song.
The surface switch. We were dying when we had him, the 2-year-old, to get to the turf, and we never did. It was off the turf a couple of times. And then he had just a bunch of little niggly issues that needed some time off, and the people were great and gave him all the time he needed, and we went right to the turf this time. And that was a race I didn't think we won until they put the number up. I didn't think we had any shot. No point. And it's much better than thinking you won it and walk down there and they don't put your number up. So, but he's a very, very cool little horse.
Yeah, no, as I say, it's a nice season with that one. So, and you mentioned sometimes you have to give them time and whatnot. How important is that to have owners who are cooperative and understand and can kind of play into what you have to do with a horse to get them right?
It's huge. I mean, they just, some horses just need time to grow up. Some horses, you need to take advantage that they're pretty precocious, and their 2-year-old year might be their best year, and you make those judgments together. But there's no question. And a lot of them, if you're not going to give them the time, sometimes you have to find a little bit lower level horse to compete with, and whether that's out of town or a different class of horse that you run here. So it's a balancing act. Certainly horses that might have a future, it's best to be a little patient. Yeah.
Let's see if we can get a future here before we shift topics a little bit. Let's talk some more racing, because you have one in on Sunday, a first-time starter. Elena Thina, is that the pronunciation? First-time starter by Escandrea. Being the 7th race coming up on Sunday. Maiden specials at 7 furlongs, which is a tough distance to debut at to begin with, but what are you thinking of Elena Thina on Sunday in the 7th?
She's a half-sister to Calabaca. The owner, same owner, bred her. The name is 2 daughters, Elena and Athena.
There you go.
So very close to Nick's heart. Terrific guy from Detroit. This is a tough race. I mean, 7/8 can be an awkward distance. A lot of times it's not for some of the speedier 2-year-old trainers kind of, let's go 7/8. But there's some very nice pedigrees, pretty expensive fillies in here, and we're supposed to get some weather tomorrow. So Escandrea handled an off racetrack. Calabaca does not. So we'll decide tomorrow or Sunday what we're going to do.
and I'm looking at a nice steady string of workouts underneath. First-time starters, 2-year-olds this time of year. What's the game plan with workouts, and how many works do you put in before you start looking for the, okay, we got the green light now?
You wait for them for the light bulb to go on. I mean, some of them it just takes forever, and you're a half. And some, I get dirt in their face once or twice behind a couple of other horses, and but even that, if it's a gallop out after a breeze is pretty significant. She always gallops out real well. She's probably a 2-turn filly down the road, but it's not just fitness. It's how their brains are working, how they're handling company, and one day you just might watch an ordinary half in 49 and change. Go, okay, we're ready.
Do you ever work horses here? Because I've asked trainers I've had in for the last couple of weeks. We're here every morning. We have been for a couple of years, and they're earlier in the morning they're jammed up back here behind us. And I'm always curious as to why Clare Court as compared to the main track or Oklahoma.
Horses are kinder here, and a lot of horses, they can be very, very tough, a little bit rank galloping on the main course. They're constantly turning on this small racetrack. They can't see too far. There's another turn. There's really no other horses passing them, so there are a lot of things that can back off an overly aggressive horse.
So it's just a mental thing to bring them back here. It's a little quieter. And,
exactly.
That's kind of the consensus I've got. But boy, as I say, in the morning they're back there, and I've always wondered what makes them come back here. But it's like the rest of it's very nice back here.
Yeah, it is.
You're the president of the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association. We've had Pat Kelly in here earlier and Rick Schosberg, and one of the things I've asked them, and I'll ask you as well, we talked with Don Little about it, the aftercare issue, which has been notable in the racing industry for the past couple of years. But you've got the Take Two program for the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association. Address that a little bit.
Well, the Take Two program we started about 5 years ago, and it's where we sponsor horse shows that offer thoroughbred-only classes. And there are A horse shows. It started, actually, Adele Einhorn, who works for Skidmore and does their horse shows. We started a partnership with her. And she's been here, and Andy Belfiore, who's the executive director of NYTHA, it wouldn't be where we're at. We're almost at 400 horse shows right now.
Nice.
So across from the East Coast to West Coast and all the way down to Florida. It's been a fabulous program. We started basically figuring when we retire horses, they do need a job. A lot of them are very, very adaptable, and they needed a second career. They do better with a second career if they're able. And the fact is, 15 of the 20 horses in the American Horse Show Association Hall of Fame, the Grand Prix Hall of Fame, 15 of the 20 are thoroughbreds. They were the hot ticket item a long time ago, and the warm bloods and the European horses kind of pushed them out. So this is a way of reintroducing them to the horse show world and trying to create a bit of a vacuum that there is a place to go. And it's worked. It's made horses more adoptable. People readily have a home for them to try them on the horse show circuit. And it's just something that we hope continues to grow. And it's the sister program to the Take the Lead program here, where we make it as easy as possible for people who are looking to retire a horse to make it. It's a very, very simple initiative right now. All the T's and dots are already done. They just need to show up and almost point us where the horse is, and we'll find a home for them.
People with more information, just go to the NYTHA website.
Correct.
New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association website if you want more information on Take the Lead or the Take Two program. And again, it's a great job to get these horses into a second career.
No question.
Appreciate, Rick, the visit this morning. Obviously, as we've gone through the races, a nice meet for you, a nice stakes win with Diversify, some promising horses going forward. So it's been a great meet. Congratulations. Good luck on the fall.
Thank you so much.
Rick Violette, trainer with, as I say, nice meet up here at Saratoga so far. Some promising runners